Greetings, friends and strangers. It is April 18th, Friday, and I thought that I would share a little bit about some of the research that I've been doing. Okay, it's not research, it's basically rereading. I'm rereading old books, and one very old book is this. That is Barbara W. Tuchman's A Distant Mirror, the Calamitous 14th Century. And I snatched this out of my storage container in Los Angeles before being forced to flee to the southern wilds of Oregon, because I'm essentially homeless right now. And I took this with me, and another book by Angela Carter. I gave myself a few seconds to spare in my storage container. I pulled a can opener, these books, a few toiletries. I think that's about it. But anyway, the reason why I snatched this book, not only was it in the first box that I came across, but it also had a chapter that I thought would be really relevant. This is the end of the world. The Black Death. Now, this is about the bubonic plague, and basically, if you've read this before, if you know anything about it, and if you don't, I'm going to tell you. Barbara, because we're on a first name basis, wrote this to sort of figure out the implications of the plague, like what happened and how it affected society. She ended up writing a lot more than just about the plague. And it's fascinating. If you're into world building, you cannot do wrong here. It's going to give you a lot of information. And then lead you to even more interesting things like the Merchant of Prato. Don't get me started. Okay, enough. I'm just going to read a little bit to you. Maybe, if we're lucky, I'll read you some more tomorrow. Got my fire going. Got a little sustenance. All right. Chapter 5. This is the end of the world. The Black Death. In October 1347, 2 months after the fall of Calais, Genoese trading ships put into the harbor of Messina in Sicily, with dead and dying men at the oars. The ships had come from the Black Sea port of Kaffa, now Feodosia, Feodosiya, in the Crimea, where the Genoese maintained a trading post. The diseased sailors showed strange black swellings about the size of an egg or an apple in the armpits and groin. The swellings oozed blood and pus, and were followed by a spreading of boils and black splotches on the skin from internal bleeding. The sick suffered severe pain and died quickly within 5 days of the first symptoms. As the disease spread, other symptoms of continuous fever and spitting of blood appeared instead of swellings or buboes. These victims coughed and sweated heavily and died even more quickly, within 3 days or less, sometimes in 24 hours. In both types, everything that issued from the body, breath, sweat, blood from the buboes and lungs, bloody urine, and blood-blackened excrement smelled foul. Depression and despair accompanied the physical symptoms, and before the end, death is seen seated upon the face. The disease was the bubonic plague, present in 2 forms, one that infected the bloodstream, causing the buboes and internal bleeding, and was spread by contact. The second, more virulent, pneumonic type that infected the lungs and was spread by respiratory infection. The presence of both at once caused the high mortality and speed of contagion. So lethal was the disease that cases were known of persons going to bed well and dying before they woke, of doctors catching the illness at a bedside and dying before the patient. So rapidly did it spread from one to another that to a French physician, Simon de Covino, it seemed as if one sick person could infect the whole world. The malignity of the pestilence appeared more terrible because its victims knew no prevention and no remedy. The physical suffering of the disease and its aspect of evil mystery were expressed in a strange Welsh lament, which saw death coming into our midst like a black smoke, a plague which cuts off the young, a rootless phantom which has no mercy for fair countenance. Woe is me of the shilling in the armpit. It is seething, terrible, a head that gives pain and causes a loud cry. A painful, angry knob. Great is its seething, like a burning cinder, a grievous thing of ashy color. Its eruption is ugly, like the seeds of black peas, broken fragments of brittle sea coal, the early ornaments of black death, cinders of the peelings of the cockleweed, a mixed multitude, a black plague like halfpence, like berries.